Um, Question, how are the body corporate levy contributions split where you've got a complex with multiple different units, e.g. one versus two garages versus standalone houses versus wall sharing duplexes? So the the way that the levies are calculated has reference to lot entitlements. Lot entitlements are basically like shares in the building. So in some complexes, each lot has one entitlement. So each owner has one share, which means all of the owners pay the same amount for everything. So if you've got 50 units and each person has one entitlement, the calculation is, total budget divided by 50, and that's what everybody gets billed. If you've got units where there are differences in the type of property or the use of the property, like in our example question, that is taken up in different number of shares for each lot. So if you've got two identical properties, one's got one garage and one's got two garages, you might expect the two garage dwelling to have slightly more entitlements than the one garage. So that way they pay slightly more for the levies overall, because they maybe have a little bit of an extra benefit in what those levies pay for. Those entitlements are set out in the community management statement where the bylaws are kept. So I've got an example of that on my screen in a second. Go. So this is a community management statement, which would look familiar to many of you. It's got information about the body corporate, and then it's got a list of all of the lots, and it's got a list of all the entitlements. So in this particular example building, lot 1101 has 60 contribution entitlements, and the 1102 has 59. So I would infer by looking at that lot 1101 may be slightly bigger in terms of floor area than the next lot down. So that is how those differences or variations in lot type should be taken into account in the budgets. Now, those entitlements are set up by the developer. They are not always matching with the reality of the building, and it's technically possible to change them, but the change requires the consent of everybody in the building. So if you thought that your unit was paying too much and you wanted to pay less, that would require some other owner in there agreeing to pay more. So if there's 100 shares and you want to have less shares and pay less money, you'd have to get someone in the building to take your shares off you, which means they would pay more. And for that reason, it's pretty much impossible to change contributions, and therefore they stay the same typically forever. So that's how they're set up. It is part of the disclosure process that you go through when you're buying a lot. So you should be able to work out what your levy exposure will be based on the number of entitlements you've got in the building versus the whole.